Welcome to Stop Wasting Your Wine, a wine review podcast where we waste our wine so you don't have to. On this episode, we review
a red wine from France.
Something shocking and new that we have never done before. Yes, you've heard it here, folks. We have found the mysterious and elusive red wine from France. And as always, I am joined by two of the best guys in the world, Colin and Joel. How you guys doing as we embark on this mystery tour of wine?
I mean, they make a lot of red wine in France, so, it's not too crazy to think we'd be back in France drinking more red wine. It was pretty, especially our wine tonight, pretty common one.
Yeah, there's a catalog over there for us to work through, and honestly, I'm not upset about going back to France here.
I know.
It's been a little bit. They're pretty good.
They're pretty good at it. They do a good job. They do a good job over there. But I will say this, for your casual wine drinker, tonight's wine would not be something that I think that you would just see flying off the shelves or something that people would know about. This is not a wine that I would have been aware of before we started doing the show. So for that, I am excited.
I would agree with that, 100%.
I think we're here
so hip.
to expand some minds. Yeah,
We're so on the edge.
Which is cool
pushing
that we
boundaries.
can be back to a country we've been to many, many times and be doing something pretty new and still cool. That's pretty neat.
I just want to point out, nobody's ever called me hip, so.
You are.
I was going to
Colin.
breeze past that.
In the world of finding new wines, you are one of the hippest out there.
No, you're super.
In that super specific context.
It sounds mildly insulting, but thank you.
But only mildly.
Only mildly, right.
Oh, man. No, I'm excited. I'm always excited to drink with you, too. But, this is going to be a good one. We have a great episode ahead of us. We are returning to a wine producer that we have visited before, which is always exciting. Have we done that before? Have we?
Yes.
Maybe once.
What do we do?
Me specifically. I forget which
This is a you thing.
wine
You keep
it
doing
was.
this to us.
Yes, I do. Because my thing is, and we've liked the other producer, we liked the first one we tried. Not as much the second one. So, I'm always trying to find lightning striking twice. So we'll see if we can do that again today.
Oh, it was the St. Giorgio. It was St. Giorgio. We liked it. We love the Chianti Classico. And by the way, it's a great deal. It's like usually $18. And it's just a really good bottle. And then we tried their white. And it was all right.
It was okay.
It was all right. But it was, I think, a little bit pricier. It was and at that cost, it didn't kill us for a white. But so we're not blindly loyal to a producer we like.
It was okay.
But the Chianti Classico was really good, and it was worth trying something different.
I think we've had some intro level wines from a couple of producers.
Sure.
And I think, some we've been a little hot on, some not so much. And we've always said, we're going to come back and try maybe the next level up. We haven't done that all that much. So maybe in these next 100 episodes, we can find a couple opportunities to do that and do a little compare contrast.
It's always cool to start somewhere and then expand, which I feel is like what we're actually kind of doing today. We're taking a step up, not only from a producer that we've had before, but a style of wine, correct, Colin, that we've tried before, but we tried the lower level. And this is the next level up in that wine style.
No, you're right. I don't think we've ever tried any Cru Beaujolais. I know we've tried Beaujolais Nouveau, I believe, right? And then we've tried some Beaujolais-Villages. So you're right. I think this is the first time we've jumped into any of the Crus.
Yeah, and that was, I remember when you taught us about that this is like in the tier of the quality of wines in that area. This is the next rung on the ladder, yeah?
Yeah, man, I'm impressed. Color me impressed. Wow.
Yeah, every now and then the stuff just sneaks out. Sneaks in, sneaks out. It's gone forever now. One-time usage. Well, so we're going to try this. We are going to do something new and old today for our learning segment. We are actually going to jump back and talk about structure. We talked about, the basics of wine back in our first 10 episodes of this show. And we've just realized that since, now that we've crossed into the hundreds, we have a lot of new listeners and a lot of new folks who are just picking up the show for the first time that might have missed some of our earlier ideas and lessons. So we're going to start to, spiral back, as they would say in the educational world, to make sure that we are covering everything.
And if you were with us, little refresher for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Thanks for being here for 100 episodes. Oh,
yeah.
yes. For
Who
sure.
are you and what are you doing? And thank you and why. And so here we go. And so we're going to learn about structure. We're going to review, and we're going to play a brand new game today. We're going to do some blind rankings of some past wines, which I'm excited
That'll
about.
Be fun.
Once again, because cool. I'm the person that's hosting it. Well, what do you say, gentlemen? Should we get into this wine?
Let's do it.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Joel, can you tell us what we're drinking today?
I can, yes. So, we mentioned it's a red wine from France. Specifically, this is the Laurent Delaunay Grappillages. This is a Gamay from 2023. Yes, it is. From the Morgon appellation. It's got an ABV of 13%, and we picked this up for somewhere between $20 and $25, depending on where we live.
And Colin, this was your pick. And as we kind of alluded to at the beginning, this is a producer we've tried before, and the next tier up in the style that we've tried before. Why'd you pick this wine?
Well, yeah, that was actually one of the reasons. So I don't have to cover that one again.
Nice.
So I had 3 reasons, but now I only have 2 reasons. And the first reason was it's getting hot here in Florida, like brutally hot here already. I mean, in the 90s, just unbelievably uncomfortable all the time. So we're getting into chilled red wine season. So I'm trying to find my chilled red wine for the summer, and oftentimes Gamay, which is the grape we're drinking this evening, can be that red wine. So I'm hoping that this kind of fits into that slot. And then the second reason is I haven't had a Gamay that I've really enjoyed in a really long time. When I first started drinking wine, it was one of my favorite red grapes, and I'm not sure what's happened since, but the ones we've had more recently on the show and even not on the show have just been okay. I haven't I absolutely loved them. So I was hoping to find a Gamay that I can really get back into. And I have the Beaujolais-Villages from Laurent Delaunay in my wine fridge, so great producer. So I'm hoping this Beaujolais, I'm not expecting necessarily wine fridge wine, but at least from a good producer, we're going to have a nice quality wine.
Yeah. I'm sort of excited to see if by the end of this episode, not that this is, the end all be all of Gamay, but if you think that the reason you haven't been enjoying them in the last couple tries is you haven't found the right ones, or have your taste changed a little bit? So that'll be an interesting thing to circle back to.
For sure. No, and I've been thinking about that too as I was trying to pick this one and trying the other Gamays that I've tried, and maybe it's just not my thing anymore, which is very possible. Yeah. We've had so many interesting grapes. Maybe it was my favorite grape back in the day because I didn't know any better.
Yeah, that's interesting. And it's like, and maybe not even that you didn't know any better, but it's like you've now been exposed to other styles that you just like more. It's like not like there was anything wrong with the original liking. You're just like, oh well, I didn't know this existed.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure, 100%. And again, I have some really fond memories of some Morgon Gamay, so I'm hoping to relive those with this bottle tonight.
All of a sudden, I just want to play like a black and white video of that song, like "In the Arms of the Angels," with you like pouring old bottles of Gamay
bottles. That would be really
just
nice.
Moving through your great times.
Do it now.
Unfortunately, I don't have any of that footage of me pouring old Gamay. If I did, I'd make that happen.
AI, let's go. Take the image of this man and just have him pouring Gamay and looking sad. Great. Well, if this happens this week, you know that I've just spent a little bit of time between this recording and the airing of this making something wild happen. I'm not opposed to it.
He's not. I wouldn't be surprised if he saw something.
God, I hope it happens.
It's too funny not to.
But I hope it's really, really bad.
It's a win-win. It's either incredible or terrible, and it's great either way.
100%.
All right. Speaking of great or terrible, let's try this wine.
Tastes like wine.
Colin, what are you getting on the nose?
Sure. I want to go to you guys first because there's something very specific here that I'm picking up, and I want to see if you guys can call it out.
Like the biggest thing or an underlying thing?
The biggest thing. I mean, it punches you in the face.
I know what my answer would be.
Is it that? Let me go first, because I'm going to get it wrong, and then Joel can step in.
No,
but is it like?
I doubt you will.
It's like that real cherry cherry soda, kind of like over the top smell to it.
That's what I was going to say for the record. Yeah.
All right, sure. Me.
Yep.
Sure.
I would say like a little bit of a candied cherry.
I almost said candy cherry, but
yes, absolutely. No, I 100% agree. And what I was getting at, and I don't know, we've had Beaujolais, especially Beaujolais Nouveau in the past, that undergoes a process called carbonic maceration, which gives some of that more candied fruit aromas. And I would say this wine has absolutely seen some carbonic maceration because it has that kind of overly candied thing going on here that you really find primarily in Beaujolais Nouveau, but you do see some in the Crus as well. So good job, gentlemen.
Nice. And I will say, I don't know, would you say this smell is unique to Gamay, or at least stands out? No, like, cause it's one of those things that as soon as I took a whiff of it, it just like brought me back to the last couple Gamays that we've tried. I was like, oh yeah, I remember this very specifically for those wines.
Yeah, from what I've experienced, this level of carbonic maceration and this level of fruitiness and intensity of that candied aroma, I would definitely say is a Gamay carbonic maceration thing. They do use carbonic maceration sometimes for Pinot Noir, but I've never had one that's as candied as you would see from your more traditional Gamay, especially the Beaujolais Nouveaux. But this definitely has that in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wouldn't go as far to say, because I know like bubblegum, right, is like one of those things.
I was so going to say that. That's so funny.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Like, I know that's more of like a Beaujolais Nouveau kind of thing, but there's a little bit of like maybe it's like a candy, what you're talking about. There's like that really light scented bubblegum.
I don't disagree at all.
Like almost like, and it's going to be real crazy, and this is just parent time. It's like when they do like the bubblegum flavored like toothpaste, like for kids and stuff like that, like. It's bubblegum additive smell.
But I don't want people to think that it's, and I don't know if this is what you were suggesting, but I just want to say, like, to me, it's not fake. Like, not.
No.
Sure.
It's just reminiscent of just that.
Yeah.
Because, again, like, the bubblegum is, I would say, like, in these styles of wine, something that gets named, but it's because it's reminiscent of, like when we say like petrol or tennis balls, it just has like the reminiscence of that. It's not like an additive flavor or smell. I think that's a good call to name.
Yes.
It just tweaks that thing in your brain.
Okay, I'm with you. I'm with you there. Yeah. I would say too, though, the other, with all of that going on, and maybe the difference between the Nouveau that we tried and what's happening here too is, beyond that, I think there is a nice like earthiness too that's peeking through, and I think from the smell, it's gonna be way more complex and have a whole other attitude to it too that the Beaujolais Nouveau wasn't touching.
For sure, yeah. That earthiness to me kind of comes across as like almost graphite-y or pencil lead, as opposed to some of the other like dirt or other earthiness. It was almost like a minerality to it, more so than an earthiness. But yeah, I totally agree. It does have an undertone of something that's not fruit, which absolutely elevates it from that overly candied Beaujolais Nouveau style for sure.
Cool. Anything else on nose before we move into sips and swishes and swirls and that weird thing when you breathe in over the sip?
And you go
aeration, I believe they call it.
Yeah.
That's the proper terminology. Thank you.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Do you edit out all of those sounds, by the way, Colin?
I do. Yeah.
Nobody
wants.
Goodness. Yeah.
Nobody wants to hear people slurping into the microphone.
No, I will say when I see videos on Instagram of people assessing wine and they do the slurp over it, it is unnerving, and it's like it's simultaneously like unnerving and the bougiest aspect of like, I feel like we've avoided bouginess on this show as much as we can, but once you start like pulling in air over the wine that's already in your mouth, you've like hit that unavoidable level of like like dedication.
And I mean, like, do it, but just don't make us listen to it, man.
Colin, would you like us to go first again?
No, I can go first this time.
Go ahead, knock it out.
What I think is surprising is that candied bubblegummy cherry comes across a lot less, I would say, on the palate than you get on the nose. I was expecting it to taste more like Beaujolais Nouveau just based on the smell, and it does not. So I was actually pleasantly surprised in that aspect because that over the top candied bubblegummy thing is not necessarily my thing. So that was a pleasant surprise right off the bat.
I would just say, too, not only that, but I would say even cherry isn't the first red fruit that pops out to me when I'm drinking this. To me, it's a little bit more of like a deeper, maybe a strawberry, something like that. But it's funny how this is one of the more drastically different on, the nose and the palate that I think we've played with in a little while.
Yeah, the smells were so like fun and like, it's like bubble gum and candied cherry, and then the sip is very serious. Like
yeah, that's right.
The sip is like very like, when you talked about kind of like the dirt mineral, like kind of like those deeper reds, and then like the tannins a lot grippier, I think, than just look like this doesn't, when you say Gamay, like I don't think like deep bold red. And so just the amount of grippiness was like a little bit surprising based on, again, the aroma and just what I was expecting from Gamay in general.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, really good call. Because I totally agree. That was one thing that surprised me too, was the amount of tannin. Because Gamay I've had plenty of Gamays where there's almost no tannin. It's almost all acid. And this has quite a bit of tannin, which is actually really enjoyable, I think. But this comes from Morgon, which is going to be a bigger style of Gamay as opposed to like the Village level or even some of the other Crus. Morgon is known for its slightly more powerful Gamays. So that kind of, checks out as far as where we're getting this wine from.
Can I ask you as a question, not meaning to review, it's not review, and I say this once an episode. How do you think
it's time for the review?
To a casual or non-wine drinker, how do you think the average person would respond to the taste and structure of this wine? Because it feels unique to me in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. I think it's pretty light, even though there's more grip than I was expecting. It's still pretty light. So I would say if you're not that into red wine, but you kind of want to start experimenting with some more red wines and not get your face blown off by tannin from like a Cabernet Sauvignon or something like that, this might be a good first step because it's got a lot of that red fruit, and then the structure is not overly offensive in any way. It's not punching in the face. So it might be a good first step.
100%. And I was going to say, yeah, it's unique, but it's still really, really approachable. And you mentioned, big Cabernets, which is like, I feel like people who are trying to get into red wines tend to start there, at least here in the States. Sure. They like to go right there and like
I
that's
gotta drink
their
a
intro
Cabernet.
to red wine. Right. Yeah. When I feel like if somebody actually started with something like this, this would be a much nicer intro to red wine than like you're talking about those big, bold sweater teeth Cabernets that just hit you in the face with so much stuff that's going on that it's hard to pick out some of the actual nuance of the wine. So I think it'd be a nice way to get into red wine if you're a very casual or not a big wine drinker.
Did you guys chill this?
A little bit.
I did. Yeah.
How much? I put mine in like 20 minutes before, and I actually kind of wish I put in a little bit earlier, I think.
Yeah, I had it in there for about an hour before and only had it out of the fridge maybe 10 minutes, before we started doing this.
And I would like to try that only because I don't think it's taking away, but I'm curious as to like if some people experience this as a chilled wine, like how would it change the experience if I had actually got this chillier? Fantastic. Well, that sounds like a great place to start and pause on our tasting, although we will continue to taste on our own for the next 20 minutes or so. But, Colin, you have a little bit of a learning segment for us today. We're going to go back and review structure of wine. Let's get into that for a little bit before we get back to this one.
This is the only thing you will learn.
Yeah, absolutely. So Aaron already touched on this a bit, but I want to talk about structure because it's been almost 2 years since we last actually like sat down and had a discussion about what structure is, and we talk about it all the time. I mean, we just talked about it, if know it or not, we just ran through a lot of the structure in this wine. So when we talk about structure, what we're really talking about is the non-flavor elements in a wine that interact to shape the way the wine feels in your mouth. So we talk about them all the time, but can you guys list the 5 major structural components in wine? Let's hear it.
You going to ping pong?
Yeah, let's do it.
Aaron? Okay.
Acidity.
Oh, Jigs. That was awesome. Okay.
Boom.
Tannin.
Body.
Alcohol.
Dryness.
Yeah, or sugar. Or sweetness.
Nice.
Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. So I would hope after 2 years you guys could name the 5 structural elements.
I still
we
was
don't
a
get
little
put on the
nervous. I was like,
spot that
oh.
often.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, name 5 things, go. I can't name 5 anything. If you tell me to name all 3 of my kids on the spot, I'm going to freak out.
So yes, we're talking about acidity, tannin, alcohol, body, and sweetness, or the amount of sugar in the wine. So today I want to talk a little bit about acidity and tannin. So acidity, when you hear the word acidity, and this is kind of the one that's most easy to conceptualize, thinking about other things that we could come into contact with on a daily basis. If you think about taking a bite of a lemon or sucking on a lemon wedge, it's that feeling of sourness. It's when it gets your saliva glands going. So in wine, people will say it gives a wine freshness, it gives a wine lift, a zippiness. You know, you might have heard us even say some of those words before. When you hear those words, people are talking about the levels of acidity. And high acid wines, you might, like a Sauvignon Blanc, you might hear somebody call it vibrant or zippy, like I mentioned. And then too little acidity, you might hear somebody call that flabby. And I know we've had a Gewürztraminer that almost hit that flabby side before, which Gewürztraminer is famous for. So the next time you're trying a wine, really try to, if you want to really get a good grip on what acidity is, really focus in on how your mouth starts watering after you take a sip. And that will give you a good idea of how acidic the wine is.
Would you say there's a difference in how acidity is experienced when you're drinking a white wine and a red wine?
So, I mean, physically, no. It's going to be the same response of the saliva glands regardless. But I think oftentimes acidity plays more of a role in white wine than it does red wine. Mm-hmm. So it often stands out more in white wine than it will red wine. So I think from like a true experience standpoint, yeah, you probably experienced it differently, but like physically what's happening with the reaction in your mouth, it's going to be about the same.
That makes a lot of sense to me, because I was thinking, as you talked about, I'm like, when we're drinking our white wines, I know it's just one of the first things that we often name. It's like, oh, wow, this is really acidic.
Actually, that leads me into tannin. But tannin comes from grapes' seeds and skin, and it also can come from oak if a wine is aged in oak barrels. And when you think tannin, you want to think of the grippiness in your mouth. You can feel it in your gums sometimes, on your tongue sometimes. You can feel it in different spots depending upon the grape. But it's really that grippy or drying sensation, where acidity is that mouth-watering sensation. It really gets your saliva glands going. The compound in tannin actually sticks to all that saliva and dries your mouth out, which is why your gums or your tongue feel kind of grippy. And tannin comes in all sorts of different shapes and sizes. It can be velvety and smooth. It can be rough and scratchy. It really depends upon the grape, the style of the wine, and that kind of stuff. So, next time you're drinking a red wine or rosé wine or an orange wine, which are all wines that you can find some levels of tannin in, because they do see that skin contact, and which is the major place that tannin comes from. Look for a little bit of that tannin. If you want a good example of what tannin can feel like, try a Cabernet or a Nebbiolo or something like that, the high tannin wines, and you'll really get that grippiness of that intensity.
So Colin, I'm trying to wrap my mind around this, because your description of acidity was what would make your mouth water, and tannins would dry your mouth out and give that grippy feeling. Sure. What is happening to my face when there is a wine that is highly tannic and highly acidic? Like, what can I expect in that situation?
Yeah, so this is how I experience it anyway. And, I can't speak to everybody else, nor do I really know the physiology of
You don't know
how
what it feels
works.
like in my mouth?
No, I don't.
Okie.
Anyway, so for me, it's usually that gush of acidity. and then kind of that drying astringency of the tannin is usually how I feel at first, or at least that's how I look for it. So, if you're drinking a high acid wine, whether it be white or red, the thing I always look for, I try to go acid then tannin because I think that's the way, for me at least it works.
Yeah.
But everybody that might be different for other people. I honestly don't know. So, but something interesting to keep in mind as you try your next wine is to kind of see how you experience that.
Well, so let me ask you, today's wine, relatively acidic?
Yes.
So, okay, so I think that was actually the way you just described that is actually how I'm experiencing it, because I just took a sip of my wine today and I'm like, I immediately get that kind of like mouth wateriness, and then
That's
the
right.
grippiness takes over, which
Yep.
so this wine might be an excellent example to try because it's surprisingly tannic for a Gamay, but also pretty acidic. So thank you.
Sure.
Thank you for walking me through. That's exactly what's
Yeah,
happening.
and I will say surprisingly tannic for a Gamay is still pretty low on tannin. I mean, we're like medium tannin at most, maybe even medium minus. It's not a
Sure.
lot of tannin in general, but there is more tannin than what you would expect to see in, a village level. Great questions, Aaron. And then, in general, when we're talking about structure, what it really all boils down to is, are these structural components in balance? And we'll talk a little bit more next time about alcohol, body, and sweetness, and how all 5 components come together and form that perfectly balanced wine.
Wonderful.
Love it.
All right, Colin. Well, as always, learned so much, and the refreshers are always important. It's always good to go back and make sure that we have a strong understanding of the basics, especially the ones that help us get through assessing every wine that we drink every day. Excellent, excellent. I'm excited, and I feel like as we revisit this wine, that actually gives me a little bit to think about, because especially when we were thinking about tannins, would you say, like, we don't talk often about the visual aspect of wine, although I know that's a part of assessing wine. Hold up the little paper, see what it is. Gamay's a little bit lighter, right, in its look in general. I would almost say, like, not as light as Pinot Noir, but more Pinot Noir than Cab Franc or Cabernet or Merlot.
Yeah, yeah,
I
I would
almost think,
agree.
like, mentally, I was not expecting the tannins because of the lightness of the wine itself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, the only thing color can really tell you from looking at it is what the grape could potentially be. You can't really tell tannin level because a grape like Nebbiolo might look very similar to this. It's going to have
Good
very
call.
light color, but it's going to have crazy intense tannins. So, you can't really tell much from the color besides, I mean, it can give you an idea if you were doing this blind. It can give you an idea of what you might be tasting, put you in maybe a category, but beyond that, there's not really too much you can gain as far as structure is concerned from just the color.
Helpful. All right, well, we've had this now for a little bit. Folks have had it open for a while. Gentlemen, is there anything new that you're getting now this has had time to aerate, open up,
Warm up.
hang
I will
out?
say I think it's definitely one, even though it's a lighter style one, that has benefited from some time opening up. And when I first got this out of the glass, that carbonic maceration thing kind of came out heavy and fast, and it was almost too much. But I think over time that's kind of backed off a little bit. It's still the one thing on the nose you get the most, like by far, and it's crazy the difference between the nose and the palate. Really, almost shocking. But I will say it's more enjoyable now after some time in the glass than it was when I first opened it.
Yeah. Is it just a little softer, maybe? Just a little more balanced,
Yeah, less.
maybe? I don't know.
Yeah, I would say in general less intense, right? Like
Yeah.
everything's just kind of mellowed out, which I think
Yeah.
this wine, at least from a flavor profile, needed. I don't know if the structure's changed too much, but I think from just a flavor profile, it's really done it some good.
Yeah,
Totally agree.
I definitely I agree that while the aroma is surprisingly different from the taste of the wine, I think the gap between the two has definitely closed since we opened the wine. So there's still differences, of course, but like you said, when you first opened it and first poured it, like so many wines, the aroma, it's been bottled up, it's just being released. It was a lot more intense, and now it's at least closer to the experience of the sip, I think, than what we started with.
I don't disagree.
Yeah, I'll take that.
Word. All right, gentlemen. So it's time. As a fast reminder for our listeners, on this show, we don't believe in numbers. We talk about wine and how we experience it and who we want to experience it with. So if it's a drain wine, it's a waste of your wine. Don't drink it. If it's a backup wine, it's for emergencies only. Casual sippers or wines that you might like, wouldn't recommend sharing with others, but if you like it, drink it. It's fine. Must share. These are good wines. Good to great. Bring them to your friends. Show them off. And then the wine fridge wines, those are our favorites. We each get 3 only. And if you have to put a new one in, you got to take something out. And right now, all of our fridges are full.
Oh, so full.
So very
So
full.
full.
So here we are. Joel, can you remind the listener, what are we drinking today?
Yes. So as a quick reminder, this is the Laurent Delaunay Grappillages from Morgon. And this is a Gamay.
Wonderful. All right, gentlemen, Colin, since this was your pick, you get to go last. Joel, how are you feeling about this wine?
Yeah, but did they like it? It's time for the review.
I'm feeling really good. Really good. Must share good. I mean, this has just been a really, really fun one. And I would actually say towards the top of must share as well. As I always say, I love when we have things to explore here. And I love when something's a little bit new, but also just really enjoyable while you're experiencing the new and finding the cool things that are going on with it. Not only that, but this is one, too, that I would love to have with some food, but also that stands alone so well. It's so versatile. And I think, really great representation of a Morgon Gamay, and just really fun to talk about. So must share. Really enjoying it.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, Joel. Although I didn't start there, I gotta be honest with you. When I first started drinking this wine, I was a little concerned. I didn't love the first couple sips, and then as I got used to it, I started drinking a little bit more, and it opened up a little bit, and I started thinking about the structure and some of the descriptions that you gentlemen were using, and then a little bit over time, I really started enjoying it. So I think that's just testament to trying new wines and continuing to kind of take some sips and power through and really think about it. So I agree with you. I think it's a must share. I think it's a great price point for a good wine. I think it's a different type of wine than a lot of people experience, especially one that you could very easily pour at a normal red wine temperature, I think, now that it's warmed up, enjoying it just fine. Or something kind of fun that you can do with friends and toss in the fridge for an hour or so and really chill it and talk about chilled wine and chilled Gamay. So I agree with you. I think it's a must share, and I think it's a great price and definitely a wine that people should try. Colin?
Yeah, and Aaron, I actually agree with you. My first sip of this, I was like, oh boy, what have I done? Oh no, what did I do here? But as it's, like I mentioned, as it spent some time out of the bottle, I think it's become an interesting wine and something that it's very enjoyable. I would definitely put this in the must share category. And it's interesting, we kind of started this off as, have my taste changed? I would say after this, I would say maybe it's probably not my favorite anymore. I'm really enjoying this wine, but I like it a lot, but I'm not dying to go get more Gamay, to be honest.
Sure.
Even though this has been probably the best Gamay I've had in a while. So interesting kind of how my taste has changed. And again, this is a great wine. I'm really enjoying it. Absolutely must share. But it's just kind of funny to think, from where I started drinking Gamay to where I am now, it's kind of fallen out of one of my favorite grape spots. So
well,
super
your
interesting.
repertoire is bigger, right?
Sure.
So when your repertoire is and you obviously started with a much bigger repertoire than myself or maybe Joel at the beginning of this.
Oh yeah.
But I would have to imagine all of our repertoires have expanded dramatically since we've started this show.
Absolutely.
And so just identifying just the differences all over the place, all of a sudden you're like, oh, this is something I was not even aware of. I think for me, it's well, can you identify what your favorite is now? What have you moved to, if you've moved away from Gamay?
Yeah, I'm still probably a Pinot Noir guy. If you can get Pinot Noir right, I have yet to find a better grape. But there's so many now that I'd put even up there. The one wine I think about all the time is that Mencia we had from Spain. That honestly, it almost doesn't get more perfect as to what I'm looking for, structurally fruit wise. So,
that was
they're
a while ago too.
It was, I know. Yeah. Yeah. Also the Planeta, the red blend from Italy, that was also just amazing. So yeah, I think that might be it. It's just there's so much other wine out there that I hadn't experienced before the show that I think Gamay has just had its place taken by some different, maybe more interesting grapes.
Awesome.
Fair.
Very, very cool. All right, so you have, folks, that's 3 must shares from us, so absolutely not a waste of your wine. Go out, give it a try, and if you're going to grab a bottle of wine to go hang out with people and you don't want to walk in with a bottle of, whatever's on the end stand of the wine shop, or a wine that feels safe or is overly expensive and you don't know what to do, so you spend $50 on a bottle of wine because you just want to make sure it's good, like, check something like this out. Like, this was $25, and it's a great bottle of wine, something that people are going to enjoy.
Shout out Laurent Delaunay. He's got a wine for each wine and 3 absolute must shares. So, from us as far as ratings are concerned. So he's 2 for 2 in our book. So a producer, definitely check out if you see some of his other offerings around.
Well done. Well done.
Mr. Delaunay, if you want to join us on the show, by all means,
absolutely. That'd be awesome. Yeah.
We would love to have you on. All right, listeners, before you let you go, we always have to play a little game and have a little fun. And we've thought of a brand new game today, which I was inspired by some people doing a similar thing online with, like, movies or songs. And this is going to be our blind ranking. And the way we're going to do this is Joel and Colin are going to get a secret list of 5 wines that they are going to have to rank from their personal, what they think is the best to the worst, and worst being its top 5. They could all be great wines, but the catch is they're going to hear the wines one at a time, and they're going to have to put them in the list blind. And once it's in that spot, they cannot move it. So a little bit of decision making that has to happen there. All right, gentlemen, think of a number between 1 and 15.
8.
No.
15.
No.
13.
Yes. Well done. Ooh. That was a lot faster than I expected. All right, Joel, do you want to go first or you want to go second?
This will go on for a long time, potentially. I will go first. Let's do it.
All right. So, reminder, I'm going to give you a wine, and you are going to have to tell me where it goes in your list, 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, and once it's there, it's locked. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
The 2018 Barogna Rioja Reserva.
Oh, I'm gonna hedge a little bit here and put it at number 2, just in case. But great wine.
The Des Saint Gall Champagne.
Oh, that was Colin's, right?
I had that one in my wine fridge.
I'm gonna have to go 1.
Oh,
this is hard.
It is.
Yeah.
Wow. So you've already given up 1 and 2.
Yeah, I don't think you're gonna get. Oh God, you're gonna throw the Grappillages at me, aren't you? Okay, keep going.
The 2022 Turley Juvenile Zinfandel.
Oh my God.
That's a wine fridge wine for you, and you've already burned 1 and 2.
Okay, it's got to go at number 3.
The 2023 Laurent Delaunay Morgon Gamay.
Oh,
I'm gonna go. I only have 4 and 5. I'm gonna go. I enjoyed that one. I'm gonna go 5, just in case.
Leaving your number 4 spot for the 2017 St. Giorgio Chianti Classico Reserva.
I'm okay with how that fell. I'm not okay with the order in which everything ended up, but I'm okay with how the last 2 fell. Yeah.
The Des Saint Gall Champagne Man, number 1. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I don't hate that. That was a phenomenal champagne for the price.
Really good. Yeah.
All right, Colin, here you go. Are you ready, sir?
Let's do it.
The 2022 La Mothe Vincent Reserva Bordeaux.
I don't even remember that.
So
I'm going to put it in 5. Yes.
That was the $12 Bordeaux.
Oh.
Okay, yeah. Okay. No, 5 is fine for that. Yeah, I don't even remember it, so it couldn't have been that good.
The 2022 Turley Juvenile Zinfandel.
Okay. Yeah, I'll put that in the 3 slot. I'm good with that.
The Mucchietto Suave DOC.
Oh, man. All of Joel's wines so far have been much better than the ones that you're giving
Still
me.
challenging.
Yeah, man. Oh, I think that I'm going to go with 4 on that one.
Okay. The 2021 Dom Decant Werner Riesling.
Ooh.
Oh, man. It's going in my 1 or 2 slot. I'm going to have to go. All the other wines have not been that great, so I'm just going to put this one in the 1 slot. We'll see what comes next, but I'm not that worried about it.
Oh, boy.
Robert Graffier. Burgundy.
Wah, 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 wah. That, if you're not familiar, that was the $100 bottle of Burgundy we had on the live show. That's all right. Do you know what? It's not all right. It's not okay.
Congratulations to Dom Decant Werner. You have ranked ahead of $100 Burgundy. And you know what?
Yeah.
You deserve it. I love you guys.
Oh, yes.
No, that's fair.
Wonderful people.
That's fair.
All right. Well, yours shook out pretty fair. All right. That was fun.
Yeah, it was fun.
Very nice.
I like
very
it
nice.
brought up some old wines that I haven't thought about in a really long time.
I know. We have to go back and try some of these again. I feel like we've grown a lot and done some things.
100%.
For sure.
And also, I'm like force myself to remember some of these so I can go buy them again. Like, I need 2 bottles of that Turley just like sitting and waiting. Like, there's no reason not to like have that in my house right now.
100%. Yeah, you've just inspired me to go and find some of these classics and give them a revisit.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, excellent episode. Brand new game.
Very good.
A new
I
wine.
like that game.
That was
We're
fun,
gonna do that
right?
again. Yeah, totally.
Yeah, super fun. And again, like we just remind us of so many old wines that we're going to give a shot that deserve a second chance or something we should try again, or at least have around the house.
For sure.
So fantastic. We have the Laurent Delaunay Grappillages Morgon. That was just pretty solid. Check it out. Join us next week for our next episode. In the meantime, Colin, if someone wants to learn about our show, where should they find us?
Yeah, I mean, anywhere you're on social media, we're going to be there at Stop Wasting Your Wine. If you're on Instagram, boom, we're there. YouTube, check us out, Stop Wasting Your Wine. Check us out at the website, stopwastingyourwine.com. We got a fun new email address, which is cheers@stopwastingyourwine.com.
Yeah, send us an email.
That's so cute.
Cheers@stopwastingyourwine.com.
So
That's
cute.
great.
So easy to remember. So cute.
Cheers.
Yeah, a lot of fun. So yeah, check us out. And if you forget where you can find us, just Google "Stop Wasting Your Wine," and we are literally
Just our
every
faces.
single
It's just
every single
over and
surface.
over.
So come check us out.
Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. All right, folks. Thanks for coming back. Hopefully we'll see you again soon. Bye, y'all.
And remember, stop wasting your wine.
Bye.